Ashwood Lane, quiet, peaceful. Trees lined the street, leaves tinged with gold and red. Sarah, new to town, felt a sense of calm. Her old Victorian house, number 13, stood proud, its brick facade warmed by the afternoon sun. She unpacked boxes, the scent of old books filling the air. A sense of peace settled over her. This was home. Days turned into weeks. Sarah settled into a routine. The silence of Ashwood Lane was a comfort. One crisp evening, Sarah noticed a light flicker across the street. The Hastings house, long abandoned, had a glow in the top window. Curiosity piqued, she watched. A chill ran down her spine. A figure stood in the window, a young girl with long dark hair. The girl's face was pale, almost translucent. Her eyes, wide and dark, seemed to stare directly at Sarah. A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. She tried to look away, but the girl's gaze held her captive. Moments passed, each tick of the clock echoing in the silence. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the light in the window vanished. The girl was gone. Sleep evaded Sarah that night. The image of the girl, her ghostly pallor and haunting eyes, replayed in her mind. The next day, Sarah found herself drawn back to the window. The Hastings house stood empty and still. The top window, dark and vacant. Had she imagined it? The memory felt vivid, real. Doubt crept in, but the unsettling feeling remained. Sarah shared her experience with Mrs. Clementine, an elderly neighbor known for local lore. Mrs. Clementine listened intently, her eyes filled with a knowing sadness. "The girl," she said, her voice a low whisper. "She's been seen before, a spirit trapped, they say." Sarah, skeptical yet intrigued, pressed for more. Mrs. Clementine hesitated, then spoke of a tragedy, a family lost, a daughter left behind. The story sent shivers down Sarah's spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the tale, secrets hidden within the walls of the Hastings house. Days later, Sarah encountered Mr. Davies, the town librarian, a reclusive man with a wealth of knowledge. "The Hastings house," he warned, his voice gruff. "Stay away, some doors are best left unopened." His words, cryptic and ominous, fueled Sarah's curiosity rather than deterring it. Driven by a thirst for answers, Sarah delved into the history of Ashwood Lane. Old newspaper clippings at the library revealed a tragic tale. The Hastings family, prominent figures in the town's past, had perished in a fire that consumed their home decades ago. The only survivor, their daughter Emily, was never found. Whispers of foul play and a family curse lingered in the reports. As Sarah pieced together the fragments of the past, the girl in the window became more than a fleeting image. She was Emily, forever trapped, her spirit tethered to the house where she met her tragic end. The more Sarah learned, the more she felt a connection to Emily's story, a sense of empathy for a soul lost and forgotten. She couldn't ignore the growing feeling that she had to help Emily find peace. Section 5. A Growing Obsession. The Hastings house loomed large in Sarah's thoughts. Days were spent researching, nights staring out her window, hoping for another glimpse of Emily. The girl's ethereal presence became an obsession. She drew sketches of the girl's face, haunting in their accuracy. Sarah felt an inexplicable connection to Emily, a responsibility to uncover the truth. She spent hours in the library, poring over old documents, town records, anything that could shed light on the Hastings family and the fire. Sleep became a luxury she could no longer afford. The need for answers consumed her. Sarah's friends noticed the change. Her cheerful demeanor was replaced by a haunted look, her conversation dominated by the Hastings house and the girl in the window. One blustery evening, unable to ignore the pull any longer, Sarah made a decision. The Hastings house beckoned. She stood before the imposing oak door, its paint peeling, the brass knocker tarnished with time. Her hand trembled as she reached out and knocked. Silence. Taking a deep breath, she tried the handle. To her surprise, it turned, the door creaking open. The air inside was heavy, thick with dust and the musty smell of decay. Shadows danced in the faint light filtering through boarded-up windows. The house groaned around her, the sound of settling wood and forgotten memories. As Sarah stepped inside, the floorboards creaked under her weight, each step echoing in the oppressive silence. She felt a presence, a chill that sank deep into her bones. Room by room, Sarah explored, each one filled with decaying grandeur, remnants of a life lost. She reached the stairs, their once polished wood now rough and splintered. As she ascended, the air grew colder, the feeling of dread more intense. She reached the top floor, drawn to the room at the end of the hallway, the room with the window. The door creaked open, revealing a small, dusty room. A child's doll lay abandoned on the floor, its porcelain face cracked and chipped. And then she saw it. Scratched into the wall, barely visible beneath years of grime, was a message. The fire, not an accident. Below it, a name, scrawled in a child's hand. Emily. Sarah's heart pounded. Emily's message confirmed her darkest suspicions. The fire wasn't an accident, but who had harmed Emily, and why? As she reached out to touch the inscription, a cold wind slammed the door shut, plunging the room into darkness. Sarah spun around, fear gripping her throat. The temperature plummeted. She was not alone. A whisper, cold as ice, sent chills down her spine. "Leave this place," it hissed. Panic surged through Sarah. She fumbled for the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. Suddenly the window blew open with a deafening crash. The wind howled, and through the swirling dust, Sarah saw her. Emily. She stood in the window, her eyes filled with a chilling sadness. Then, as quickly as she appeared, she vanished. The wind died down, the room fell silent. The window remained open, an empty void staring back at Sarah. Shaking, Sarah finally managed to open the door and flee the house. She didn't stop running until she reached the safety of her own home. The experience left an indelible mark on her soul. The fear was real, but so was the sadness she felt for Emily. Sarah knew then that her connection to the girl in the window was far from over. She was bound to Emily's story, to uncovering the truth of that fateful night. Night after night, Sarah found herself drawn back to the window, gazing across the street at the Hastings house. Sometimes in the flickering shadows of the old house, she could almost imagine she saw Emily, her pale face watching, waiting. The mysterious girl in the window remained an enigma, her secrets buried in the ashes of the past. And Sarah, forever haunted by Emily's gaze, knew that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved.